Hello, everyone, and welcome to an all new Deep Cuts Live. It's almost the end of April, so this is where all the heavy hitters come into play. This is someone that I've known for a bit now, and every time I have an encounter with her, it's always fun and full of laughs. So I have high expectations for this show that we're getting ready to put on in this conversation we're getting ready to have. So today's guest is Ben Wills, as you might know her for Sisters in Smoke. So let's bring on our guest. How are
Hey,
you?
hey, Antoine, how are
Hello.
you?
I'm good. I'm good. I was looking forward to this conversation. Like I
Me
said,
too.
I wanted to have you on last month.
Mhm.
And then I think things just got completely crazy. So,
You're a
I'm
busy man. You're a busy man.
yeah, I'm glad to have you on this month though, because it gives us time to talk about uh, all the stuff that you're doing out in the industry and to get into some hot topics as well. I always,
Ooh,
I feel like Barbara Walters. You know how at the beginning of the View for years, like she's like, I always wanted to do a show with interesting women and perspectives. So this is what this show is going to be about because I feel like there's a lot that we can definitely touch on in terms of some hot topics in the industry. But
okay.
before we get started, I want you to kind of introduce yourself to the audience and kind of tell them a little bit about you and what you do.
Well, they call me Sisters in Smoke. Uh, my name is Ben, or Aunt Benny, or Benny and the Jets, depending on who you are. I am a content creator for brands, specifically cigar brands. I work with Aventura Cigars out of Dominican Republic. I'm brand content creator for JR Cigars, and I do experience marketing for online retailers such as Small Batch, where I bridge the gap between cigar brands and retailers as it relates to consumer engagement.
So how did you get started with that? Because because I was tempted when I type up and do like the little promo graphics, I always say like, what should I call this person? And that's why I stopped putting that part in because everybody wants to call themselves something different. So I was like, it's been a would you call you an influencer? And I was like, I think it's more than influencer. So, like how did you get into this?
Well, I won't say I choose. I mean, I'm not. Let me say this. There's nothing wrong with the word influencer. However, I do understand it's a very touchy word, right, for
Mhm.
everybody. However, part of my professional background is in publicity. So I have an older sister. She's an entertainment publicist, and I've been working with her since I was 20. I think I might have been a sophomore in college. So everything that has to do with managing a red carpet, talent, wrangling talent, putting on events, having great relationships with photographers and videographers, curating a storyline, those types of things. I guess we could probably say is pretty much second nature to me, even though that's not what I went to school for. So, in that regard, as it relates to content curating, it's all of those things, not just, sometimes people think that the picture is the work, and it really isn't. It's 7 to 10 moving parts there that
Mhm.
you kind of have to think through, and you kind of have to plan for, and you ultimately have to execute after said pictures or content is posted. So yeah.
So one of the viewers wanted to know, what are you smoking? Because anytime you're on video, you're always smoking something. So that should have been my first question, but tell us what you're smoking today.
I'm smoking Matilda cigars. It is the Smokers R&D collaboration with my cigar pack. So
Okay.
it's called the Serena.
Okay.
Little Lancero action.
So it's interesting that you got into the whole because I think a lot of cigar smokers, especially if they're on Instagram, I think they're under maybe unspoken desire is to become an influencer or curator that gets to work with all these brands. But obviously, there's a lot more work to it than just you get sent cigars and you post a picture, which I think is the extent that most people want to take it. So how much like work really goes into. I know, because I know that it's a lot more work than what people think, but they think it's all. They think being an influencer, like I said, it's all about just getting free product. You take a
Sure.
picture, and then your job is done. You go off and you enjoy the fruits of your labor, and then you just get sent more stuff, more stuff, more stuff. And that,
Well, 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 that's a part of it. I mean, I think, you have to decide for yourself where you want to be in this space. And there's nothing wrong with, getting product and taking photos and enjoying your pastime just like anybody else. And if you just so happen to take dope photos, even better. You know what I mean? Like, even
right.
better. Um, for me, I I like to tell stories. I am curious by nature and disciplined by profession. So anything that I'm doing, especially if it involves my health, right? I got to know all the things, and I
Mm-hmm.
need to do all the things. And so if the more I started smoking and the more I started meeting people in this industry that lend their labor of love to what we enjoy, it almost felt like my duty to kind of dive a little deeper. What is this? Why is it this way? What is this like? What's this experience like? How does it work? And the more I started to feed that curiosity, the more invested I became. And honestly, I I don't think I saw it coming originally because my background is in fashion. Um, Before the pandemic, I did custom clothing for men. I was doing a lot of weddings. I worked in television. I'm a trained technical designer. Like, so even though I was smoking cigars, right? Like, I was
Mm-hmm.
smoking cigars and sewing clothes at the same time. So it just kind of, the pandemic hit and boom, nobody's getting married. Nobody's shooting television shows right now, So um, that same discipline that you have to have in that industry, the metrics of clothes, kind of also plays a really big part in how I look at what I do and telling the story behind cigars. And so it just grew and developed, and I met really great people. I mean, like, sometimes even just thinking about it, I'm just overjoyed and grateful at the human kindness that is in this industry. And it just kind of stuck with me now. Like, that's it.
Like, I guess to step back a little bit. So, how did you get into smoking cigars?
um, well, I've definitely told this story before. So one of my best friends is Ken Hamlin, um, better known as the Hammer, better known as the owner of the Arrival cigars. So when he stopped playing football, he started smoking cigars, and we used to all travel a lot, like family type stuff, friend trips. And it was like, hey, it was NBA All Star 2010. It was in Dallas at the time, which is where he used to play. And he came out in the back of me and he's like, hey, smoke this, don't inhale. And I looked at him like, how do you tell someone not to do something they've been doing their whole life? Inhaling is a part of life. Like, what?
Right. You're like, how do I do that?
Right, you're not. And in true guy fashion, no shade, like, Ken is not a very chatty person. So he really didn't go into a large explanation about what that meant. So there are actually pictures. I don't know who took these pictures, but there's pictures of me actually choking, not doing what he told me to do. Um, and and from there, every time we went somewhere, whether it was a family trip or it didn't matter, or he was in LA, we always smoked. And it was the only time I ever smoked. And so then after that, it went from me trying to figure out how to smoke on my own with no instructions, of course, and tons of intimidation, to him inviting me to Pro Cigar for the first time. He's like, oh, yo, you got to be here. And I went, and like Cinderella, I fell in love. So, so
So, what's the you're in the cigar culture.
Mm-hmm.
it's a pretty male dominated industry or lifestyle right for right now, even though there's a lot more women, luckily, who are coming into the lifestyle. What's been your experience as a woman in the industry?
Uh, you know, some of the things that women talk about happen for me too. I think for me, I don't think I ever really paid as much attention in the beginning because most of my friends at the time were guys, right?
Mhm.
So, if I'm with Ken and some of his friends or some of his teammates or, some of my own friends who also didn't smoke, like I always found myself in the middle of these scenarios with guys. So some stuff I might have just been blind to. And also too, I think as a woman, when you hang with men on a regular basis, you become kind of deaf to the things around you.
Mhm.
So I kind of don't pay. I kind of just be minding my own business sometimes. Like if by the way, if you see me and it looks like I'm not listening or paying attention, I'm probably somewhere else mentally. Like so, that's usually me. So I wouldn't see some of those things. It wasn't until I started smoking with other women that I started to see and hear some of that behavior. Um, but I'm also the middle child, so I ignore a lot of things on purpose. Like unless you're rude or you're violating some moral boundary of mine, or I have this rule like no one will ever be embarrassed in my presence. Like if you're getting with one of my friends, I'm gonna politely pull you to the side and ask you how I can help you out. you know, but I try not to let it bother me. But it is there. It's there. It's there.
Oh yeah, I mean, because over the last 2 weeks, like if you go on Twitter,
Hmm.
if you go on Facebook, or any other social media platform, there'll be like cigar groups, and you'll see the pictures come up, and it's just like a woman half nude, doing something to a cigar or whatever, and that's like the norm. And I'm like, in any other industry, like you don't see that happening in the wine industry or even like the spirits industry as much. Maybe I'm not looking hard enough, but it's like women in the cigar industry. There's so many good, examples like you who are standing out there, and yet there's like this dichotomy thing going on because then there's also this idea that women are props in the industry, almost like they're there for like the male amusement. So I've
Hmm.
always been like curious of like, for a woman, like, do you see that, and then like how do you rise above that?
Uh, I'll tell you like I tell anybody else, and especially men. I and no one else has the right to tell someone how to enjoy their pastime. For me, I'm just naturally much more conservative. I might give you a little shoulder. Like if you know me, like I cut all the necks out of my sweatshirts. you know, if I'm gonna give you boob, you're not getting legs. If I'm giving you, legs, I'm covered up. Like, but but that's just me. I feel like I don't have to rise above something that has absolutely nothing to do with me.
Mhm.
If that's how they want to smoke their cigars and they want to risk dropping ash on body parts that are very sensitive, then that's their choice. The same way, some people don't smoke in their house. I mean, and here I am by the window, and I think it's fine. I don't have a problem with it, but also too, the tobacco industry, the cigar culture is not like any other industry because if it were, some of the things that we are facing, dealing with, questioning, and trying to answer, we wouldn't be doing that now. We are behind the curve on a lot of things. And so,
Mhm.
at this point, you can't wag your finger at someone else if we haven't solved the more important problems. So I just say smoke your cigars and mind your business.
Yeah.
But not you.
Yeah.
Not you.
No, because I just think it's interesting because, again, because you have some, you have women like yourself, like Erica and Amy over at
It's my
TLE,
buzz. It's my
um,
buzz.
there's so many other women who are just doing the right thing, not the right, well, not that it's wrong, but they're trying to stand as good examples for the industry. And then you have others who are just kind of making themselves out to be like this sex object
Well,
with no intention of educating
well,
or
they
doing.
don't. But this is the thing: they don't have to. We have to really stop putting expectations on things that we think we should control. Um, there are going to be people who are going to enjoy their cigars the way they're going to enjoy it, and you really have to think, to yourself, if you were on a beach, what would you be wearing and what would you be doing? If I'm in my house smoking my cigar, what would I be doing? What would I be drinking? What would I be smoking? And whatever that is in that time is exactly what you're going to get. And if them being in a bikini, or I don't know, in a deep V-neck shirt, or I don't know, whatever those things are, um, it's no different than, you know, them getting clothes on to go to the club. We all put on, our eyelashes and our lipstick, and who's to say that that's not okay either? We just kind of have to get out of our own way and let people do what they do. And if those people who do the things that don't align with your brand identity, or your business model, it's okay. You go and find somebody who does. Um, Hopefully, you find me. But I say it's okay. Because I mean, I'm about to go on vacation. Y'all, I'm not gonna be on the beach in a cutoff sweatshirt. You gonna get the bikini that I'm in, smoking the cigar I'm gonna be smoking. you know, it's gotta be okay. It's gotta be okay. You gotta make room for that.
Yeah, we have just a comment from AC here who says, I'm a sister of the leaf who has a public Instagram account. I see the objectification of women from women themselves. Shake my head. And like you said, but I think if it's them doing it for because they want to do it and that's their sexuality, I think that's a completely different argument. But on the flip side of that, there are groups out there that objectify the men too. You just don't see them as out there.
Sure.
So it happens on both sides. So it's just like a weird, I won't say a hot topic. It's just like one of those curious moments because, you know, we had this discussion earlier this year when we were doing one of the TPE uh, education panels with the women, and they got into this discussion about sexuality versus professionalism versus what it stands for and stuff like that, and they were kind of came to the same conclusion as you did that women have to feel comfortable to portray themselves however they want to be portrayed, as long as they not I would say as long as they're not being objectified, like because there are some pictures out there that you could tell that men are just like, I have too much time on my hands and I'm going to make this picture up and make it even something more than what it is. So
Sure.
that's
I mean,
the only weird part that
this
I
is
don't
what
feel comfortable with.
this is what I struggle with in this topic, and then we can definitely move on. But my struggle is if those things bother you, if women or men that are half naked or are hypersexual, or if, let's say, for men wearing gray sweatpants, um, it is
Right.
what it is. If it bothers you that much, if the conversation is a point of contention, then that's not where you need to put your energy. My issue isn't with what women or men are showing, it is the validation that you give them that support their narrative. And then you turn around and you objectify them in private, which is now boiling over to in public. If you have a problem with it, don't like the photo. If you
Exactly.
have an issue with it, don't watch their stories. Don't follow them, because what happens is, like anything else, whether we're talking about civil rights, whether we're talking about whether you don't like a restaurant, whether you go to a bar and that mixologist is whack, you don't go back,
Mm-hmm.
right? So treat everything in your life with the same respect. Because what happens is that, like I said, I don't have a problem with those women because, like I said, I'm about to go on vacation, and she will be in her bikini smoking her cigar, and you might catch a photo or two. However, if you don't like it, then don't support it, because when you
Right.
support it, it snowballs and dominoes into this larger conversation that shouldn't be. But I just saw your name in the like section, bro. Like, if you don't like it, then stop doing it. Because guess what? The less likes they get, the more attention, the less attention they get, the less you will see it happening. You cannot be a culprit in the issue
Right.
and like it at the same time. It's I don't support that. You know.
Right.
So
And I like this comment that came through. It says, as long as you're not falsely advertising as something you're not, do you? Authenticity is never wrong. So
hey, Shy. That's my
that's
girl
a
right there.
really good comment. So,
Absolutely. Absolutely.
and I know when speaking to Erica and Amy, they brought that up sometimes, that there are some who do portray themselves as being these, cigar smoking women, and then behind the scenes, apparently they're not, and they're doing it for some weird, completely weird, off the wall reason. So I feel like that's a hot topic for another day, though. so we don't get into that. But um, getting back to, and I'm just going to roll through some of these other comments that came through. Um, you know, getting back to what you do, content curation. How much content do you create in a day? Because I'm always curious of this, because part of my thing is I have to create content, and my content is completely different from yours, because mostly my 9 to 5 is written content, which is like I spent all day today trying to type out a good 1,000-word story. Um, so it's not the same as that requires a completely different mentality. So
Yeah.
just take us through how you approach creating content.
It depends on the day. My schedule's set up in a way where, let's say, Monday, Wednesday, I'm curating content, right? If I'm doing a campaign, I'm working on that, but everything is done in a 2 hour time frame, 2 hours at a time. Either it fits in this 2 hours or it ain't getting done, like, because I got other things to do. So, there are 2 hour time blocks. I can smoke 2 cigars, videos, photos, whatever, run back, change my clothes, change my lipstick, throw my hair over the other way, whatever needs to happen. And then maybe Tuesdays and Thursdays, I edit that content. Or I attempt to edit it. And it depends, if I'm doing a reel or the more simple things, editing is not my ministry. So it takes me a little longer than the average Joe. So, it'll take me all day to edit all the things from Monday and Wednesday. And then on Friday, I try my best to create the copy for that particular stuff, even if I'm working on something weeks before. Now, if we're talking about campaign type things, that's probably more of a 6-day-a-week type of commitment, because I don't work on Sundays. It's a hard and fast rule for me. But yeah, like I try to break it down in days, and then that's just my stuff. Like the 2 hour time block is something for me. The second 2 hour time block is for a client, and I have to kind of balance that out. And I usually go back and forth. One here, one here, one here, because I have to have balance. If I got to work for somebody else, I also got to work for myself too. So I just try to create as much discipline in my workday as possible. But it's hard because you can sit there all day long taking pictures, recording video. Like, you got to know, like for me, it's I'll take 5 to 10 pictures. I might, do a cut and light video, couple of boomerangs, and maybe 4 photos of the cigar. Now, all of those I don't necessarily keep, because I know right away if the light's not hitting, it's getting erased. And anybody that smokes with me knows, okay? the light's not over here. We got to pivot. Like, you know, and the thing, I mean, it's a running joke, but truth of the matter is if the light is right, the less pictures I got to take. Or the less pictures, you know, I get my friends to take.
Mm-hmm.
Because, you know, nobody ever takes your photo like yourself. You know, my friends be like, can you take this for me? You know, so you kind of got to figure out how many of this, how many of that, can you get whatever shots you're looking for in the amount of frames. And that is going to dictate your day or your days. So that's kind of how I do it. You know, I can't sit here all day. I'm like, one hit quitter. Let's go.
And we just had to comment that content creation takes discipline, which it does. I mean, I'm sure like you have to really, as you were just saying, like really know what kind of content you need for the week so that on those days when you're filming or putting that content together, you are using your time wisely. Otherwise, you're just kind of like, what am I doing? And that's what
Yeah,
I sometimes.
it's like hanging out with friends. It's like you're just in here, just wasting time. Just wasting time. Yeah. But you also have to be, you know, I think the one thing that works in my favor is that I'm very clear about my creative direction. And I usually don't operate outside of that. And I haven't figured out if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I know what kind of pictures I want to take. And I know how long it takes me to do that. You know, like if I'm at an event and whether I'm hosting or, you know, I'm an attendee or a guest or whatever, say like, you know, Pro Cigar. If I'm walking into the white party and I know I'm there early, I'm gonna get in and get these pictures before these seats get filled. Yeah.
I've seen you at Pro Cigar. You are like, you're on the schedule when you walk in there. Like you know what you need to do and what you want to accomplish during the night.
I get in and get out because you know what, like because in doing that, when you work in this industry, you have the opportunity to be a part of some really cool things.
Right.
You know, and you get to meet really cool people. And I try my best to be as present as possible when it matters because, I mean, yeah, the pictures are great. And yeah, like most of the time they want me there because I'm a storyteller, right? Like this is what it looks like. This is the fun. We laughing, mouths wide open, you know, like we did a challenge and it was a fail. I don't even know what it was called when you go down slow. It was a
fail. Yeah.
You know, it was a fail, but it was fun, you know, and I ain't got no problem posting that either. We all did. It was like strike out. But if I get in, I get my pictures, my stills, you know, then I can dance all night and I can laugh with my friends and smoke my cigars and say hello to new people I never met that has come because they've seen me there. Like I want to remember the night or the day, whether I'm there at the cigar lounge, you know, with my girlfriends, like get in, get out, turn up. Like that's the motto. So I'm not trying to do it all night. And I don't want to. I don't want to be one of those people, you know, you come to an event, you've never met me before, you're like, man, she's been on her phone all night. Like, that's not the type of reputation I want to have. So, you know, I come in, I get my pictures, and then I relax.
And like when you're talking about content creation, I know you're active on Instagram. Like what other social media platforms are you active on?
Let me tell you something. I ain't got time. Listen, if Instagram doesn't go to Facebook, I'd be screwed. Like I would be screwed because I can't keep up. Because the thing is that it's not just posting photos on Instagram. You have to and that takes time too. I have to put that in the schedule. I know that sounds really bad. I have to put that in the schedule because I post something, but I also have to engage the people that are following me. You know, I feel like I'm at a place where, you know, people genuinely want to know what I'm smoking. Where'd I get it? How'd I get it? What's it like? How much is it? And they really would go out and buy it. Like, and then turn around, go get it, send me a photo of them smoking it. I'll be like, yes, enjoy that. And I have to be able to communicate with them in a timely fashion. So if I'm posting something, I'm probably on there for 5 hours out the day, like almost consistently. Because if not, then my numbers suck. Let's be honest here.
Right.
It's Instagram, but for me, it's work. People come to me to create a story, to create a vision, and also to bring the people along on that journey. And I can't bring people along if I don't communicate with them. So,
Do you feel a pressure of any sort to build an audience outside of Instagram? Like, do you feel the TikTok pressure or
uh-uh.
the Facebook pressure or the Twitter pressure or whatever, the Snapchat pressure or any of the pressures like from these other social media platforms?
Well, no, TikTok is cool to watch, but I'm not TikTok and Twitter. So like I'll talk to you, but I'm not chatty, right? Like I have my moments, but as a human, I'm not chatty. Like I don't have enough to say to be on Twitter, like at all. Like everything I got to say, that's why most of my captions are probably longer. Like anything I got to say is in here, and that's probably it. Like that's it.
Hmm.
Um, Snapchat, I feel like is just used for pictures and very sneaky things. So I don't engage in that. Uh, so I mean I just as my schedule stands, I don't really have time for it. I had a couple of friends that be on Snapchat. They turn me into cartoon characters, and they kind of do it for me, and I'll post that.
Hmm.
But no more, just Instagram and Facebook.
And one of the cool things that you really did recently was your activation with Small Batch for Black History Month. So
Thank you,
kind of
thank you.
because you introduced me to some brands that I had never heard of, which is always fun in the industry. So as you were
Yay!
kind of putting out that content, I was consuming that content and learning more, for example, about Spencer, AS Reserve, and
Mm-hmm. Yes.
so
I
how did
uh
that come about?
so that was my second year smoking black owned cigar brands in February. The first year, um, there was a bit of a challenge going on in the industry as it relates to um, how can I put this? The consumption of a product by black people and where we spend our money and the support around that aligned with the things that were going on in the world, right?
Mhm.
And it was just a lot of chatter about support and where do you put your money. And I live in LA. I'm 69% tobacco tax, and to be honest, I felt attacked because I was like, I don't know who these cigars are either. Like, and I'm black too, so I took it as a personal challenge to find the cigars and smoke them, and I found a list of cigars that was curated by her aficionado out of Atlanta, and I went down that list and got a few and smoked them every day, and afterwards I realized that was not the best idea, but it worked out. And then next year I wanted to be able to answer some of the problems that a lot of black owned brands were facing, which was a much broader platform for selling, access, availability, um, and pure enjoyment. And so the only way to do that, to answer the questions, well, where did you get it? Well, how much is it? Do they ship? Um, is the product good? Do you really like it? Like that's the same question.
Uh-huh.
But do you really like it though? Like, is it cool? Uh, and so, in order to do that, I had to team up with a retail partner in order to provide that access. And it's no secret if you follow me that the guys over at Small Batch, those are my dogs, those are my friends. And they've always supported anything that I wanted to do, especially Mikey. And I'm grateful for it because I started with 7 brands and I ended with 3, and which was Casa de Sueño, AS Reserve, and Black Star Line. And and unbeknownst to me, I went in thinking that, okay, like we'll buy the sticks that we're going to promote for the month, right? He was like, no, 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 no. Like, we're going to buy the whole catalog. I was like, what? The whole thing? I mean, minus infused cigars, right? Like,
right.
but like, you're going to go in and you're going to purchase these brands' entire catalog. They're going to onboard the entire thing. And I was excited about that. And so it kind of, after much negotiation, of course, it went over really well. And by the second week, we had sold out already. And we had to reorder twice. And I was very proud because there was a lot of moving parts. And see, this is what we talk about when we talk about content, right? Like, I had to curate a relationship with people in order to put me in a position to help somebody else.
Mm-hmm.
And the relationship, I had to curate a relationship with a brand in order to trust me with their labor of love, right? And then in addition to that, I had to figure out how's this going to work, right? You're going to onboard these brands. How do you sell them, right? how do you get your Insta friends to buy your stuff? And there were a couple of asks. The brands needed to smoke each other's brands. Like that was a hard prerequisite for me because there is no cigar solidarity if the only sticks you're smoking are your own.
Mm-hmm.
And I was very adamant about that. Everybody that bought and posted, tagged, and everybody got to participate in that social engagement. And that is what content creation to me is about, being able to see people engage in a tasting discovery with other people at the same time at maximum. And in addition to that, I sent out a couple of boxes to a couple of friends, to try out the smoke, a couple of people that have been good to me. And it worked out. And I was happy. And I think that, the guys from the brands were happy about it. There are people who weren't able to smoke those brands otherwise, because in my opinion, right? Because again, I live west of Texas, and most of these cigars I never saw before now, or I didn't have easy access to, because a lot of retailers don't have online capability, right? So most of the people that I run into that had smoked the cigar were buying them from their local shops, which I didn't have access to. So this made it a little easier. And people, I think, enjoyed being able to have access to those brands. And I think they found, if not one, quite a few that, that they like, that they still smoke. So, yeah.
Yeah. And what I liked about it was, like you said, you gave a platform to some brands that would not have normally gotten a platform. And they got the full treatment. I thought they had blog interviews. You were doing Instagram lives with them. You were doing pairing stuff with them. And that's stuff that you're used to seeing with bigger brands, in the industry. And yet they were given the red carpet treatment, which I thought was great. And then it piqued your interest. Like people like me who are sitting kind of watching and consuming this content was like, okay, maybe I need to reach out to some of these people and get to know them too.
Yes.
So, and that's always been my argument sometimes with some of the Black owned or minority owned or even women owned brands, is that they're just not given the same opportunity as some of the bigger brands, because how the media sometimes is set up is that you have to buy into the system before you can kind of play sometimes. And it's not always like that across the board. And I'm not saying it is, but for some,
it's okay. I'll say it. It's okay. I'll say it. Listen, it's just like when you work a red carpet, right?
Mm-hmm.
It is always a running joke. It wasn't a joke. It was true. But say it was BET Awards and you have B and C list clients. You got to get to that carpet at the top of opening before Beyonce get there. Because if you don't get there, you don't get the interview. Because what happens is, as soon as somebody yells out, Beyonce's here, I don't care if you at the end of the carpet and you ain't got a fighting chance. You ain't got a fighting chance to talk to Beyonce. Matter of fact, Beyonce only stops for 2 people, and one of them is dead. Okay, she stops. She might stop for entertainment tonight. 3 people. She's gonna stop for Arnold, who's photographer, and she would always stop for Mr. Bill Jones, which was basically the oldest photographer. He used to do ebony, essence, all that. She never stopped, and it didn't matter. And it's the same way here. If the alleged B and C list brands don't get the interview, they'll always be overlooked by the Beyoncés of the cigar industry.
Mm-hmm.
And if interviewers or media partners don't take the initiative to really get to know some of these new boutique brands for the sake of conversation, there's new things to smoke. Everybody's always talking about what's new, but is it really new if we're smoking the same things? Like we talk about brand loyalty, but where's the curiosity of it all? And so I think, we have to be a little bit more creative about including those smaller brands, because they might not have the capacity or the creativity to do it on their own, but they too belong here right alongside all the other big brands. I believe so. There are some good smokes out there.
Yeah, some of these smaller brands are, I don't even want to say boutique anymore because nobody even knows what that means, but some of these smaller brands are made by some of the big companies that people know already, and the factories that produce some of the top cigars, the number one here, number one there, and all this other stuff. They just don't realize it. So I thought what you did. Now, I really enjoyed your interview that you did with Alex Spencer, because I think I caught that. Like, how was that? Because how many interviews do you typically conduct, and how was it kind of having to be, the reporter, the journalist, and like come up with questions and interview people and stuff?
You know what? I don't look at it like that. Maybe I should, because I might take it a little bit more seriously. But like I said, I'm curious, right? So I want to know all the things. So I'm probably going to get in your business a little bit. And if you don't answer a question, I'm probably going to ask it again until you answer it. But that's just me, right? Like, I feel like I'm not beholden to anyone. So there's some things that I can do, and I try to be as personable as possible. And Alex was great. He's there's a lot of levels to that guy. He's got a lot of stories to tell. And I enjoyed all of them, Alex and Eric and, Tony from Casa de Sueño. Like, they really do have just as much of a story as anybody else in the industry, and have done a multitude of things before being in the cigar industry, which makes smoking their cigar a little bit more exciting, which is, what we do. We smoke based on, association. Mm-hmm. And so I think that was part of my reason for doing all those types of things, so that you could get to know the brand in one, if not all, the ways that you could possibly smoke it. Are you drinking? Are you FaceTiming with your friends? Are you gossiping? How do you buy? Like, whatever those questions are, it's like one of these is going to hit, right? It's like gambling. It's gambling. Something's going to hit, so that's what we did.
Well, like I said, do you have any other future kind of brand activations that you're planning out?
No, because it is cigar week season, and it is PCA season. And then, I just signed on to be the brand content curator for JR Cigars. So I'll probably be a little busy until August. But the cool thing about working with JR Cigars is that the team is women, and that's exciting. Conversation is different. It's empowerful, and they'll be sending me to do a lot of lifestyle types of things. Cigars, yes, but it aligns more with the type of things that I always do. I'm at the cigar event, but it's a white party and we turn it up. Like, we drinking this rum. Did you see this? You can't get this. Like, look at these boxes. Like, it's all the sensory things. And so I'm going to get to do some of those same types of activations with them for and with events that are under the Tabacalera USA umbrella. So I'm really excited about that.
And I think that's great too. Like you said, and I, I always, when I look at the industry and some of our hiccup moments when things kind of go off the rails, I always say it's probably because not enough women were involved in the discussions or decision making situation. Because some of these, is a lot of ego and testosterone made issues. I would just say, in my opinion.
Yeah,
Um,
I mean, some things just need a little tender love and care, and
right.
at the end of the day, I don't. It's about playing to your strengths. You know what I mean?
Hmm.
And sometimes women hold the strength of things that men can't do. It's no different than when you walk into a cigar factory and women have a certain type of job that a man cannot have, which might be based on strength. They're not going to be necessarily deveining tobacco because probably tear that shit up. It won't be right. You mess those bales up, and that's okay. I think everybody deserves to play up to their own strengths, and get some women on your team. We'll
Hmm.
treat you right.
Someone had a question for you, which is, what's the number one cigar company that you would love to work with?
Oh shit.
You gotta manifest this moment. You'll look back at this moment and say, "I remember when I said it here and made it a thing."
Cigar company. Um, damn. I might kick myself for saying this though, only because it's a personal challenge to me, um, and they don't really work with anybody, and it is probably going to be my personal duty to break that wall down. But I would love to work with Davidoff. They don't do acquisitions outside or that aren't in house.
Mhm.
They're It's very male driven, very male heavy. Everything about their marketing is looking for the right word. Um, I'll just say masculine. And sometimes it's a little off-putting. Like I've had a couple of pamphlets, and I remember thinking, "Sheesh, maybe I shouldn't smoke this." Like, but their experiences are always great. Their dinners are fantastic. Some of the people that I've met that work there are fantastic. Colorful humans. I like them a lot. But I'd be interested to see when they operate outside of that in-house bubble. I mean, I got close once. I got close. I got close one time. I got close one time. But no matter who you pitch, it's all about timing. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? And you could, and I'm this person. Like if I'm gonna do something, I'm gonna show up with what I want to do and how to do what I want to do and how to do what I want to do. Right. Like that's me. Right. I'm pretty sure everybody that I worked with in my small batch activation probably was over my ass at a certain point because I had all the things, or at least I think I
Mhm.
had all the things. And they will still come back to the table and say, well, we got to figure out how this is going to work. When you work for yourself, you're on the other side of this email, you're like, I just told you. Like, just
Yep.
in paragraph 4C, it says no, but that's it's about timing. So I would love to do something with them in the experience marketing area, because I know a couple of people that work in Davidoff stores, and like Shy, who made a comment earlier, you know
Mhm.
and she works in a beautiful location, and I would love that. I would love to come up with something super dope.
So let's make this into a like case study or learning moment. So
Mhm.
you said you want to work with Davidoff. How would you approach them? How would you open up that conversation with to get your foot in the door, at least considered?
I think I would probably start the conversation off with a question. I'd be like, what do you think about X, Y, and Z? Like, if you could make that happen, like I would go through the whole scenario, be like hypothetical. I'm really talking about myself, but not really.
Right.
The whole, make them believe it's their idea type of approach, which is really what pitching is about, right? Like it's your idea, but it's really about having a conversation with someone about the way that they receive it, not how you want to give it, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's how you get people on your side, and that's how it started. Like, man, like, have you guys ever done this way? Oh my God, these people over here, I know this fantastic group. It'd be crazy. I would have to know all the things, right? Like things that they wouldn't think I would know. And just have a general conversation that has nothing to do with me asking them for something. Because sometimes when you ask people for stuff, they don't want to do, they're automatically turned off. And I don't really operate from that position. But if my idea can help move along that evolution, I'd love to be a part of it. that's how I talk. So yeah, that's what I would say.
So when's the last time you pitched to them though?
I never did. It was the one time, was it? I'm trying to remember if it was PCA or TPE. Maybe it was PCA. I was approached by someone who wanted to do something, and this was pre-pandemic, but it never really went anywhere because the whole like, we got to figure this out. I'm not sure how this works, and and I can only provide as much information that you're willing to receive, and that's on any front, right? And when they're ready, I'll be waiting. But like I said, it's all about timing, no matter what. Like I've been smoking cigars and posting cigars for a couple of years now, and even though this wasn't the plan, I don't even think this was a thing then. Here I am, and timing is everything. People have to be able to see you in their vision. It's not the other way around. And so I'm patient. I'm patient.
I know the marketing person there. So when you're ready to make your pitch, you tell me and I'll make the introduction.
What? You got to run it through the Swiss first.
No, you go start here in the U.S. and then let them run it through the Geneva part.
I got you.
But yeah.
Now you got my wheels turning.
Like I said, I know the marketing people there. I know Lana and Eddie.
Eddie, that is one fly guy, ain't he? that man, yeah, he got the juice, man. He got the juice.
So, what have you learned about yourself since you kind of started getting more involved in the cigar industry and becoming this powerhouse influencer, curator of content?
What have I learned about myself? That no matter how many cigars I smoke, I still will drop one. That's a good question.
It's an open question.
Oh, you know what? I've learned, one of the things I've learned is to trust myself. In all of the careers I've had, I have been a part of a larger machine, part of a process. And even though my sister owns her own business, I was still a part of her process. And I'm a very decisive person. Very, like I don't weigh. I don't left or right very often. I think about it, I pray about it, and then I'm done with it. Like it's either yes or no for me. In this space, I get to do what I want, and I get to trust my instinct. I don't have to ask for permission. I just have to be flexible. I get to spearhead my own things. I get to trust that process. And I never really got to do that before. I mean, yeah, I mean, my opinion or my word might have held a little weight in the part that I played. But in this space, I get to play all the parts. I get to control all of the narratives, but yet still learn to be flexible. And I enjoy that. I also never had as many women friends in my life ever, and they have taught me to be patient and to pay attention in ways that I never did before, because I have very uh, I won't say masculine energy, but my behavior is dominant in a way that it's not feminine, or has not been as feminine as it is now. I never used to wear dresses. Like now, like I have a couple of girlfriends here. I know if I'm smoking with Maisha, I'd be like, okay, what am I about to put on? Okay, because I got to be of equal or greater value when I'm standing next to this girl, you know. And it kind of helps me discover new parts of myself as a woman, and then as a woman in this space, and then as a woman smoking cigars, and what that looks like. And I appreciate that from all the women that I get to smoke with, whether I've seen them in person or I smoke with them on, FaceTime. Honey, we be why not this FaceTime smoking? Okay. We be hitting it. But they've played a very integral part in my ability to communicate differently than I had ever before. So, I definitely owe that to them.
So someone comes to you and they say, Ben, I want to kind of do what you do. What advice do you give that person who wants to get into I guess, the influencer, curator, social media world as a profession?
Uh, like I said before, the pictures. There goes my headphone. Um, the pictures aren't the work. The work is being present in places where opportunity lie. But the thing about opportunity is that it doesn't come unless you build a relationship with those around you. You know, I'm from the South. There are things about me that are just what they are, right? Like how I treat somebody, how I talk to somebody. The fact that I probably laugh at everything. Probably half the photos that had a pro cigar, my mouth is wide open. Like you know, I'm a what you see is what you get type of person. I feel like I can talk to you. Like, there's some people that I revere, right? Like I hold to the utmost respect, and even though they might be people that I could talk to directly, I mean, I still get a little, whew, okay, let me make sure I don't say nothing stupid, like, but the more I communicate with them, the more I'm ingratiated in this space. And that is the currency, because now I'm not looking for the work. The work is looking for me. And now I get to do the things that I want to do with the people that I like. You know,
Mm-hmm.
I'm no longer I'm friends with some of these people. It's no secret. Nierka is my girl. Like, Raquel is my girl, and I spend a lot of time in the Dominican. Everybody knows that. And the girls that I'm with, those are my girls. And so now it's less about cigars and more about spending time with each other. And then it just so happens that opportunities arise. And that, I think, is how you kind of can separate yourself from other things. Because it is tough. I understand some people can't come and go with the freedom that I do. But I also like to travel
Mm-hmm.
before cigars. I belong to a travel group with like 15 people, that became a little popular, for posting photos. And like, it's what you see is 100% authentic to the life that I've always lived, except for I didn't smoke cigars. Everything else is the same. So if you want to be an influencer, you want to get, feels really weird to say, you want to get paid to create content, you have to ingratiate yourself, not just with the cigars, but the lifestyle, with the people that create the thing that you say you love so much. Become friends with them. Get to know what they like. Are they vegan? Do they got a nut allergy? Do they like to dance? You know, what kind of, do they like jewelry? Go shopping. Like these are all the
Mhm.
things that I've done with some of all of these people. Like we just be kicking it. And then, it just goes from there. I don't want to always smoke the most popular stick just because I have it, or drink the best. Well, I do want to drink the best rum, but like, just get in and live life with some of these people, and then go from there.
And what's your why, or what's your motivation? Like, what drives you to do what you do?
Curiosity. I I'm a very creative person. Obviously, you can't work in fashion or be a technical designer without it. Um, I'm constantly, even when I don't want to. Lord knows sometimes I'll be like, girl, go to sleep. But I'm curious about everything. I am a puzzle solver. Like, I always got to seek and find. It's crossword puzzle, play dominoes. I'm there. Like anything I can figure out or I feel like is a challenge, I'm going to do it. If I look at something and I can't do it, then I'm about to figure it out. Like I tunnel vision. I gotta know. I gotta do it. I mean, and it's worked. Thank God.
Well, I want to thank you for coming on today and spending an hour and 1 second with us so far. Um, Before we go, I want to make sure that you can give us a call out to your social media and your website so people can follow up with you and get more information. Maybe they want to work with you. Just putting it out there. So for those people who are not watching this live and they haven't seen the banner that's been up for most of the show, can you just tell people what website they need to go to and what social media they need to follow?
Yes, I am Sisters in Smoke. Sisters in Smoke. It's also sistersinsmoke.net. You can go to my website and put your email in my newsletter box to get all the updates. And you can send me an email if you want to work together at Ben at sistersinsmoke.net.
Well, awesome. Well, I want to thank you for coming on and sharing all of this great information with us. I knew it was going to be a good show, and it definitely was. And we had lots of laughter. So um, I look forward to our next encounter, whenever that is.
Yes, make it soon, please, because I miss you in Pro Cigars. So I guess I'm not going to see you to PCA. And let me just say this: like, I mean, I know it's the end and we got to go, but listen, listen, I'm a fan. Okay, I'm a fan of Antoine Reed. So what most people don't know about me, I like to read, and one of my favorite parts of magazines is always the editor's letter.
See, I feel like
Doesn't
you're like one of the only people who read, because when I type that out, I'm like, nobody's going to ever read this part. It's like the one part of the magazine people usually go like flip over. But for whatever reason, like the last thing I wrote, like it resonated with you and it resonated with a retailer, which is like two, and usually I get maybe like one comment on it on social media, an issue. But I was like, wow, I got like two for this issue. I was like, that's like a big deal. So you,
it's you know what, like I first started reading the editor's letter from Black Enterprise when I was in college, and I don't remember the old man's name. Kind of looked like a slicker Frederick Douglass with a bald spot. I don't know his name, Lord forgive me. But the editor's letter, in my opinion, allows you to get an insight. It sets the tone for the intention of what you're about to read, and it is where you get to have a one-on-one conversation with the person responsible for what you're about to intake, and they get personal, and they pose questions. Like I love questions, and it makes you think. And so I just wanted to let you know, like it was my first tobacco business, magazine as a, as a company. I got it in the mail. I was like, yes, it's here, it's here. And you just talked about some really important things, as far as the state of the cigar industry, and not just fluff. Like, you pose questions about, the importance of retailers and why they're falling behind. And you paired that with the idea of being Southern and, being able to check in and just having basic conversation. And I believe that that's a much more important conversation than a lot of the other things that we're having. And so kudos to you for being transparent and humble enough to share your opinion and your thought on that.
Oh, well, thank you. Like I said, thank you for actually reading it, because I'm always like, so whenever I write that, I'm like, it's like the last thing I write, and I'm like, nobody's gonna read this part. Like, everybody's gonna like flip by this part. So knowing that people actually read it is nice. So
I'm reading it every issue.
So I definitely, I'll know that now. So I'll be writing stuff, and I might just slip something in there just to use, since I know that you're the one person who's going to actually read it.
I'll tell everybody else to read it too.
Yeah, well, like I said, I look forward to seeing you probably at PCA. So
absolutely, I'll be there.
So that's a couple weeks, couple months, whatever you want to have. You want to see time. But thank you for coming on today and sharing your whole experience, because I think more people need to follow you as an example of how to do things the right way. Like how to do social media the right way, how to post the right way, how to engage with the audience.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Let me know, like I said, if you ever need something that I can help with, a connection. I'm pretty sure you have more connections than I do at this point, but
blasphemy.
So for those of you who are watching or listening to this, if you're watching on Facebook, on YouTube, or Twitter, make sure you hit that like button or subscribe button. We're also on Deep Cuts is on all the different podcasting platforms. So now if you go to the Deep Cuts, Deep_Cuts_Live Instagram account, don't ask why the other name was taken, but if you go to that Instagram account, there's like a link tree now that will easily link you up to all the different websites and social media and podcast platforms that you need to consume this content. We have another show coming up on Thursday with Tony Bellato, and 2 more episodes next week, and then we'll see what May holds. But I think this is episode 82.
82.
82. So, if you ever want to see any of the other episodes that we've done in the past, just go to deepcutslive.com. All the past interviews are also there. So thank you again to Ben, and thank you again for you all watching. And I will see you back here on Thursday.
Thanks, Antoine.
Thank you.